Welcome to the Investor Coaching Show, a podcast to help you get an insider's view of the financial world and escape common investment traps. We look at the financial news of the day and help you make sense of it so you can relax about money. And here's your host, Paul Winkler.
All right, back here on the Investor Coaching Show, Paul Winkler. People, what is this about financial advisors talking about that what their clients are asking them is to move overseas? What's that all about, Evan?
Yeah, we were talking about housing costs for younger people, but it's not just youngsters. This is from the Journal. More middle-income Americans are trying to make a new life overseas. And it's the same story. They're looking at making their dollar stretch further. And, housing costs typically are less. Most healthcare costs typically are less. We can debate about the quality of care, but I've subscribed to a service for years on international travel and living overseas and so forth. And most of the people doing it have no problem with the healthcare and what some of us might consider third world or country.
Yeah,
but they have great care. But it was interesting. There's about 4.4 million Americans living abroad. That comes from the Voting Assistance Program or whatever from the Defense Department. I didn't know the Defense Department got into voting, but I guess that's because of the military.
Yeah, they're
overseas.
saying that they don't even have to, the places that they're living at, they don't even necessarily have to have a passport.
Right. You just have a residence visa.
Yeah.
And, so it's not becoming a dual citizen or anything like that.
Right. You retain your U.S. citizenship, and you still pay U.S. taxes, and you get credits for taxes paid.
Yeah.
And that was fascinating.
It's like I said, I've looked at it for years just as, kind of travel has been a big thing for me I've lived all over the world because of the military and so forth. And, to me, it's like, why would I pay X for a place in Gatlinburg, which is great town, when I could pay the same X and have a 4,000 square foot place in Belize or something like that overlooking the ocean.
Oh, my wife would say,
it's kind of the same deal.
These people must not have grandkids. That was her thing. That was her thing. Yeah.
But it's a cost of living thing. People are looking at if they didn't save, if they didn't plan ahead,
right?
They've maybe had a couple of bad, they had a bunch of Boeing stock and now they can't live on what they were, those kind of things.
Yeah.
.com, whatever, crush, 2008. And now they're looking at, okay, how do we have a decent retirement with the nest egg we have left?
I was shocked in the article at how little people had to have in monthly income. They had to have a declared amount of monthly income.
Yeah.
They had to prove their monthly income was something, as I recall from the article.
Yeah, and it's about $1,000 a month for a lot of these countries.
That blew my mind.
And, when the average Social Security benefit, I think, is still like
$1,700.
$1,700.
Yeah.
A married couple that's in their, over 65, that's a shoe-in.
Well, they said Portugal was a big place that people are choosing. And I went out there on the net and I looked for something talking about that. And I found this thing, Retiring in Portugal Guide for 2025, updated retirement costs. And in here they says, that it has a beautiful architecture, pleasant weather, quaint cities, excellent justifications for retiring there. Retirement, this is of course trying to sell people on this. Retirement visa programs are now more appealing. Due to recent tax adjustments for retirees, there are significant advantages to these modifications. They help foreign retirees relocate to the nation. They also aid in reducing international income taxes. They have a high standard of living. Retirees' budget isn't strained either. On a budget of $1,500 to $2,000 a month, a retired couple can live comfortably in charming villages and small towns. Your monthly budget would likely increase to between $2,500 and $3,000 if you choose to reside in a larger city. They gave a couple examples of that. For many people, retiring in Portugal is a tremendous present. People in the country are kind, and the cost of living is minimal. distinctive architecture and lengthy history contribute to its allure. And I thought, I don't know that I could do that. I don't know that I could, because I have so many roots with people.
Yeah.
And the things that my hobbies and the things that I love doing around here and the connections that I have. I don't know that I could pick up and just, take off and do something like that. But apparently a lot of people are looking at that as an option.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And again, kind of talking about the expectations of the younger generation, having some frustration on a first-time home is, okay, maybe you're at this point where, okay, the kids have gone, I'm retiring, I am going to downsize to this smaller place here because of those roots that you mentioned, all these relationships, but I'll take some of this surplus and get this interesting place in a far-off land and live there 4 or 5 months a year, almost like snowbirds, but instead of going from Ohio to Florida, you're going from Tennessee to Portugal.
Yeah. I've seen that out in Phoenix. You got these people that they live in Michigan. And they're out of there. Michigan, see you later. I'll see you next spring.
Right.
And that's what they do. They head out and they do that. So interesting stuff.
But yeah, it was interesting how many actually are still in North America that are quote unquote living abroad, which would frankly just have to be Mexico and Canada if it's living abroad. Europe was the next largest group, and Africa and the Mideast, and then finally South Central and Caribbean. So it's not that everybody's going to a little island in the Caribbean. A lot of it's over in Europe.
Yeah, they said that the Caribbean, that was where typically found upper income people headed off to.
Probably.
Is what I saw.
Yeah,
something like that. And I had one guy that actually talked about being down, I was in the Caribbean. He was a doctor, client of mine. Went on another side of the island because I asked him, where did you go? And he goes, well, I go on the west side of the island because of hurricanes.
Yeah.
And I thought that was super interesting.
Yeah.
You probably have to be wary of that, don't you?
Yeah. But we have clients living out of the country.
Oh, I have plenty of them.
that.
Yeah, I have people that are missionaries and live in different areas. Yeah, so for sure. Yeah, so I was looking up those numbers. I updated the numbers. Some of the areas of the market, so far since the beginning of the quarter that are up are just not the areas that you'd be thinking about. And people talking about that the markets are, crumbling and going down and worried about that. A lot of the areas that I'm seeing are going up, as I was talking about earlier. The value up about 4%. And you just don't know what's going to happen going forward. But international value holding its own, and emerging markets, stocks. So the benefits of diversification.
And you said that's this quarter?
So far, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So far for the quarter. But, that is something we often talk about when investing. What you're looking for and what you're shooting for is dissimilar price movement, as we often talk about. And it is a frustration of mine when people talk about markets. They don't talk about a lot of the other markets that an investor really needs to. They need to make sure that they're exposed to a lot of different areas of the market, because the academic research is pretty doggone clear that diversification is much more than just the Dow, the S&P, and the NASDAQ, which is the area that so many people are so worried about.
Right.
And the whole idea of some of these things, and just come back to the Musk issue, because what he's basically doing is he's saying there could be huge multiples in the economy going forward as a result of some of the things that he's playing around with. But if you look at the companies that have been spearheading a lot of this AI research and a lot of the implementation, those companies are already selling for super, super high multiples compared to earnings. And to bet on them further going up is kind of a scary bet when it really gets down to it.
Yes.
Because it is other companies that use the technology that typically benefit the most.
Yeah.
So anyway, we'll be back right after this. Hey, just a note to you podcast folks, we just came out with a retirement income guide, and I'm super excited about this. There are all kinds of myths about taking income in retirement. People worry about running out of money, and rightfully so, because a lot of these myths can actually cause that. Now, the myths that you typically hear about, number one, dividends, living off dividends in retirement. real estate, life insurance as a retirement investment, and annuities, and interest-bearing accounts, and target date funds. There are all kinds of things out there. What I want to do is put something together that walks through why those things are problematic, number one. Number two, the other thing that I wanted to do is walk through the evidence-based research on taking income in retirement. And we got a ton of data going all the way back to 1900. What's the logic behind it? And it's intensely logical. So we put that together, and all you have to do to download that, making it super simple, just go to paulwinkler.com/relax, and you can actually get into that very easily right there. So I would urge you to do that. Check it out, because I think you're going to really like it. paulwinkler.com/relax. All right, we're back. This is Investor Coaching Show. Paul Winkler, Irvin Barnard. It's like 50% of people using AI for investment advice overseas.
Oh, really?
That's scary. I saw that someplace. I can't remember if it was Reuters or where the heck it was, but I saw that and I thought, wow. So, they'll ask questions of AI and the feedback they're getting, according to this article, was it's really bad advice. They're getting super, because they're getting, think of where's AI getting their information? It's the sales garbage that's really out there, and they don't know how to discern between good information and bad information.
Yes. And just like so many of the articles on, prompt engineering, whatever that burgeoning field is, we always talk about the 20 must answer questions to clients. And if you're asking ChatGPT the wrong investment question.
Good point.
It almost doesn't matter how good the answer is. Yeah. It's not what you should be doing anyway.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting deal. But here's what they're asking.
Yeah.
And we talked a little bit about the 26 to 35 bracket, but ages 36 to 50 considered peak earning, peak responsibility. Mm-hmm. Here's the most common questions that they're asking ChatGPT.
Yeah, it's funny because Kevin, producer, just made a comment. He says, I actually knew someone who tried to get financial advice from ChatGPT and did not go well.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I love it. Thanks, Kevin.
I shouldn't say good, but
no, I mean,
sorry to hear that.
It is so true. It's garbage in, garbage out. Right?
The core theme for that age group is optimization and protection.
Okay.
So the most common question.
Optimization.
And protection.
Okay.
Am I saving enough to retire on my timeline? That's one of the most common questions they ask. How do I balance?
Well, hang on, Ed, before you go past that.
Yeah.
That could be garbage in, garbage out, because if you look at the average return, one of the things we often point out is the average return of investors in markets is significantly below markets. If you're actually capturing market returns, of asset classes around the world, that's a whole different number than if you're getting the average return that most investors get because of behavior and because of what mutual fund companies typically do, and that's behavior as well.
Yeah. So let's compare those with the other age groups, because it's similar themes that all have some of the same flawed assumptions in there.
Yeah.
Ages 51 to 65. When can I realistically retire, and how much is enough? So it's still they're basically still asking the same question.
Right.
And if that rate of return is off, that answer is
then you're going to live in Portugal.
Yeah. And age 65 plus, how do I ensure I don't outlive my money? So again, they're still asking those questions that depend on what return are you going to get, and spending.
Yeah. What's your investment philosophy?
Yeah.
How do you measure risk in the investment portfolio? What asset classes are held, and in what proportions? Yeah, sure.
And no one asked the question, if I make a big mistake, how is that going to affect my retirement? That wasn't one of the common questions.
Right.
How do I balance retirement saving with kids' college savings?
That's a good question. So put the oxygen mask on yourself first.
Yeah.
My parents, one of the things they said, we'll help you out. They got me through the first year of college. Mm-hmm. This is just a philosophy. This isn't necessarily how you have to do it. For them, that was what they did, because they did not have, we didn't have 529s. They didn't really save for college. It was just expected that I was going to go to college. But what happened is they paid for the very first year, got me started, and then actually forbade me to quit. I was going to continue college. There was no way around it. But what I ended up doing is working for a company that had tuition reimbursement, and I worked full time, to make sure that happened, and went to college at the same time, finished that particular way, came out with absolutely no debt whatsoever.
Wow.
So I thought you'd heard that.
Was
story
that the
before.
lottery company or the state lottery? Or
It was the company that serviced the New York State Lottery. Yeah, that's what we did. Is we basically worked on the computers that serviced, and serviced the computers that did not only the New York State Lottery, but it was also off-track betting. So you talk about education.
what
man.
a curve you have been on.
Well, it was. What an education watching humanity from a whole different side at that point in time while I was in college, and just watching how not to live life. Because I saw things that I just, you can't unsee.
Right.
But, at the same time, I was going to school for economics and learning something that could have been useful for that particular company. So they had tuition reimbursement.
Cool.
And then when I got out, I didn't have any debt. I applied for a job within the company, but there was somebody that they had already handpicked for the position. And I had basically done my duty in applying for something within the company.
Yeah.
And that was how it ended up happening. But coming out that particular way with no debt whatsoever was a huge upside.
And the greater Nashville area is better for it.
Well, that's I'll let everybody else determine whether that's the case or not.
Another common question, and this spans all of the age bands. How do I reduce taxes on investments and income? How do I reduce taxes in retirement withdrawal? And, which accounts should I withdraw from first to minimize taxes? It just depends on which age group, but it's the same question.
It is. It depends so much on your situation. Some people have pensions. Some people, continue to work part-time in retirement. Some people will delay their Social Security, and therefore, possibility is maybe you take money from non-qualified taxable investments first, and take money from there and do Roth IRA conversions and pay taxes willingly on some of their money in their IRAs. So you don't necessarily always want to reduce taxes. There may be reasons to pay taxes because that will reduce future taxes. But a big thing on reducing taxes on investments in general is the philosophy that we teach on the show and have taught for 25 years. Do not actively stock pick, market time, or use active management in an investment portfolio, because that increases turnover in funds. And it still blows my mind, Evan, that the average turnover on mutual funds is still up in the 50 to 60% range.
Wow.
So it basically means that you're paying a lot of short-term capital gains taxes, which is capital gains at your highest tax rate when you are having that much turnover happen inside of a portfolio. But that, and the other thing is this, we talked about it earlier, tax diversification. Having a little bit in the bucket of taxable pre-tax IRAs. I see people that tell advisors that tell people convert, all this money into Roth IRAs. And I go, oh my gosh, are you crazy? That so often that is such bad advice. You have to be very, very careful. But unfortunately, a lot of people, they're asking these questions.
Right.
But the reality of it is the answer is going to be very different from them than it is their friends.
And implementing the answer is the other piece of that equation. Again, not that it would, but let's just say ChatGPT gives them a perfect answer to a question. Well, they still have to go do it. Whether it's diversify, they still have to execute on the plan.
What goes through my mind is, we use software programs that are very, very distinctly different answers for different people. And what they'll do is we could never do this on our, there's no way we could do this on our own. But they'll say, okay, we want you to, look at a range of how much you might convert or how much where you'll pull money from. And sometimes these programs can be so specific. They'll say, okay, so for your income this year, this is how much you're going to pull out of your non-qualified account. This is how much you're going to pull out of your pre-tax IRA. And this is how much money needs to come out of your Roth IRA. It used to be in the old days, Evan, you can attest to this. This is the way we would do it. We go, okay, there's an order of distribution.
Right.
Your non-qualified money is the first money you spend. Your second money that you spend is going to be your pre-tax money. And the last money you spend is your Roth IRA. And it's just not that simple anymore.
No.
Because of the taxation that you can end up with on Social Security or the tax treatment of these other things.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, one of the questions, and this was in the later age group, was on estate planning and, should I have a will or a trust and those kind of questions.
And it depends on the state you're in,
but
too.
That brought to mind that, that's a question that every age group needs to ask. There was an article in the journal, leaving the wrong beneficiary on your IRA plan can be a costly mistake. And so it was interesting, as I just hadn't thought about this, but basically the article is a reminder that you need to check the beneficiary designations on all of these accounts. And obviously, while you're alive, it's much easier to fix these things that you find, whether it's there's no beneficiary listed, or you've had a divorce, or your spouse died, but you haven't named contingent beneficiaries.
I was just going to say contingent.
And state law fixes some of that, but 401ks are governed by federal law. And it's not quite so easy.
Hey, this is Paul Winkler. Hope you enjoyed today's edition of the Investor Coaching Show. If you want to learn more about what we do, go to our website, paulwinkler.com. Until next time, I'm Paul Winkler, reminding you that I believe that more educated investors are more confident investors, and confident investors are more successful investors. Have a great one. Advisory services offered through Paul Winkler, Inc., an SEC-registered investment advisor. The opinions voiced and information provided in this material are for general informational purposes only and not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine what investments are appropriate for you, please consult with a financial advisor. Paul Winkler, Inc. does not provide tax or legal advice. Please consult your tax or legal advisor regarding your particular situation.